I need to fix this. I need to fix this now. I have to rework the film all the way at the beginning with Spock and Romulus. What I'm keeping the same. Romulus is destroyed by the supernova. Old Spock and Nero travel to the alternate timeline. Planet Vulcan is destroyed the same way, and Kirk is thrown off the ship at some point to meet up with old Spock. While the main cast has issues here and there, Nero is another story. He has no personality to talk of except one: his sole motivation to hurt Spock. That's not a character, that's a goal. Another thing, a commenter mentioned they came out with a comic that gave backstory to the Narada and Nero. I didn't know about this. It tries to explain all the problems I pointed out, but the comic just makes things worse. Ruins other characters or makes less sense than what they did in the movie. If I explained all the stuff that it messed up, it would take 10 minutes. It just reinforces the film needed a rewrite. Of course, fans understand old Spock being on Romulus is a story thread that was left open during Star Trek TNG. Instead of being this nonsense where Romulus goes and trusts Spock into stopping the sun going supernova while not evacuating the planet just in case, and Nero contradicting himself, "Oh, I'm loyal to the Empire, I do my job," while you didn't bother going back to Romulus sharing your tech for them to take over the quadrant, right? I'm going to pay off what was left open from the events of unification. I'm changing Nero to being one of the people that worked behind the scenes with Commander Sela. Their whole goal was to prevent Vulcans and Romulans from reuniting as a people. And the events after the Dominion War finally gave the push that Ambassador Spock needed on that front. Nero sees the talks that were being mediated between Spock, Earth, and the Romulans as a point of no return for his people. They were going to finally sign treaties, end this Cold War, just like how the Klingons did. So the only option Nero has left was to get rid of the problem, meaning the planet. Nero for years was trying continually to stop Spock. In recent years, Nero being obsessed with Spock, his background, and of course the Enterprise as well, they helped stop what they were trying to do to Romulus, reading up on mission reports and classified events, stumbling on a big one that involved the loss of the Enterprise D and a man named Soren. He tracked down people that knew or worked with him, eventually finding a secret testing base of Soren's solar weapon that he used to redirect the Nexus ribbon. Nero launched a rocket into Romulus' sun while Spock was leaving the planet for further talks, so that he would be able to witness the death of the planet and the blame to be put on the Federation, causing a huge blow to their image and the trust built up. Now, how does Spock travel through time if the events are different? Remember the trusty time travel by slingshotting around a sun at warp? While Nero is laminating at Spock's failure over the view screen aboard one of the newest Romulan warbirds and is about to take Spock's shuttle, Spock attempts to run to try to warn Starfleet of what happened. Spock goes to warp and tries to use the proximity of the supernova to lose Nero, but in this case, traveling at warp slingshots Spock through time along with Nero, and with this being a supernova, it doesn't work the normal way. Instead of just traveling back in time, they also go to another universe. The next change, instead of the events happening over 25 years and not making a lick of sense, Nero does encounter the USS Kelvin, but the Kelvin encounter is moved forward 27 years and does not have Kirk's family on board. Instead, this has a very young Ensign Chekhov. One of the things that got ignored in the movie was that Chekhov wasn't a part of the show till season 2. I want to acknowledge this in the movie, see where Chekhov was during the original events before the changes. Shifting the movie up will still have the TOS crew coming together like the movie does, but I want to fix the problems with Kirk going from cadet to captain in the movie, so we be at a time where Kirk was first officer aboard a ship. Spock is with Pike, Uhura Sulu are on other vessels, while Scotty remains on the outpost near Vulcan. The Kelvin, like in the movie, is destroyed. They do the whole ramming thing. One problem I had with this scene, Nero was unable to stop the Kelvin from crashing into his ship. That never made sense. So with my rework, old Spock is already on board Nero's ship. He attempts to sabotage it. At most, he scrambles the targeting system of the ship, giving that sliver of an opening for the Kelvin to ram Nero's vessel, allowing the survivors of the Kelvin to escape. This buys time for the Kelvin crew to report on this disaster to Starfleet. It's also the time to where we get introduced to the rest of the cast, seeing their skills and what they're capable of during their regular day lives, going into more depth with First Officer Kirk, where we get to see some flashbacks to his cadet days. We see how he meets Bones and him cheating on the Kobayashi Maru test, meeting Spock for the first time. The way Kirk acted towards him and his tests are where we get to see more of Spock's past, staying pretty much the same as the original movie. After we get to know the main cast, the movie comes back to Nero repairing his ship and figures out the situation he's in, basically seeing this as a second chance to save Romulus. He heads off to wipe out Vulcan.
Now, I need to also deal with Nero's ship's cloaking device since I gave him a regular Romulan ship. What's stopping him from going to the Vulcan system cloaked, then firing a solar rocket at the sun? I would point out that plot hole. So thanks to the damage sustained from the Kelvin's collision, some forward weapons are either damaged or destroyed. Nero is forced to fire the rockets from the aft torpedo launcher. Second issue, he can't just stop in front of the sun. He must be at a certain distance in order to escape the shockwave from the supernova. The ship has to decloak and then turn around to aim the rocket. This wastes time, allowing the Vulcans to detect an unknown ship appearing in their system. The Vulcans would most likely have a very similar defenses that we've seen with Earth. They would send out Vulcan shuttles to intercept and attempt to tell Nero to leave. They would be on high alert from a Romulan signal after not seeing them for many decades. The delays from moving the ship into position and the solar rocket needing time to charge up its warp engine gives the Vulcan force time to destroy the rockets.
No 25 years, no looking stupid not going back home while dropping off Spock on Delta Vega. Instead of Starfleet falling into that dumb trap that shouldn't work, Nero's ship attacks and destroys all defenses around Vulcan, using their phasers to dig to the core of the planet. The planet sends out a system-wide distress call, alerting Earth they're under attack by an unknown force. Earth then alerts various starships in the area of the situation. Chekhov tells Command that it's the same ship that attacked the Kelvin and wants onboard a ship to help Vulcan. The Starfleet ships arrive over time, being destroyed left and right like paper, with the Enterprise being one of the last ones to get to the system. The various fights showcase all the characters, Uhura trying to keep the fleet organized and coordinating each of the ship's tactics, Sulu showing off his piloting skills. I'd really like to see him use 3D space. It's something that Star Trek doesn't do often, but nothing works. One by one, ships are wiped out, forcing the crews to evac to the last surviving ship, which of course is the Enterprise. Without the red matter, how does Nero destroy Vulcan? He doesn't need it. Romulan ships are powered by a black hole in their engine core. A Romulan ship would have the ability to create a singularity. They could launch a modified torpedo with cobbled parts of a warp core to generate a black hole. It goes down, goes critical, and sucks the planet up.
Hang on. With your rework, didn't you just make the Romulan warp cores a powerful weapon? Isn't this like the hyperdrive ram from The Last Jedi? Under normal conditions, drilling through a planet would not be viable. The ship would be an easy target. Second, the nuclear energy from Vulcan's planet's core is what gives the quantum singularity the required energy to form into a black hole. Not enough energy? Romulan warp cores just explode.
I need to also keep the Enterprise alive, so Captain Pike going over to Nero's ship has to be kept as is, but slightly modified. Since it's no longer a mining vessel, Kirk, Sulu, and the red shirt that dies goes after the phasers on Nero's ship. They have to take out phaser emitters and then get clear of Nero's shields to get beamed back. It'd be kind of reminiscent to First Contact. Chekhov and his transporter moment can still happen, but it just takes place in beaming them back while under attack.
I'd take a playbook out from Preemptive Strike where Kirk and the others have to pass through the shields where they get destabilized by the ship engines. This would still allow the red shirt moment from rushing in and getting killed by the thrusters.
Spock going to Vulcan and the loss of his mother is kept, but I need to get Kirk off the ship. At the same time, I need to avoid the whole problem with Spock throwing him off the ship not making sense. I'll be introducing a new character in the movie to fill in this moment. Think of him as a Commodore Decker type of character. One of the survivors that made it to the Enterprise would be a Commodore. This person would take command of the Enterprise just after Mr. Spock leaves to Vulcan. Spock is badly injured rescuing his people, so when he beams back, he's stuck in sickbay. Kirk, like in the movie, argues with the Commodore on what to do. Unlike Spock throwing Kirk off the ship, he's sent to the brig. I'm also going to repurpose the 3 guys who beat up Kirk in the bar to be crew members of that Commodore. He orders them in secret to throw Kirk off the ship. This way, the whole being emotionally unstable is not exposed to the crew, where McCoy would have relieved Spock the moment he made that order. Like in the real movie, Kirk meets old Spock. It plays out the same, minus my story changes, and we meet Scotty for the first time. And I'm going to make Scotty look like a miracle worker without causing a plot hole that breaks the universe. Kirk and old Spock stumble onto Scotty and his friend. Both of them are frantically trying to record data from Vulcan being destroyed, and not the bad reference to Archer's dog. Spock doesn't blabber anything out to Scotty that he's from the future. Instead, they avoid how they got on the planet and jump into the current problems. The outpost is in complete disarray. The communication system is not working as it is because of the weather, but thanks to the black hole, it's totally screwed up. This is where miracle working moment 1 comes in. With the help of Spock, Scotty is able to cut through and get hold of a small vessel. Now, I could probably stick a reference in here and make it like Cyrano Jones, but I won't do that. That would be distracting to the scene. It'd be some poor Starfleet officer in the same boat as Scotty doing a boring job. Old Spock remains on board and helps pilot the ship while also delivering the data and what happened to Vulcan to the Federation. In comes in Miracle Worker Moment 2. They catch up to the Enterprise. Due to the battle damage, most ship systems are down or not functioning at 100%. Sensors are being repaired, shields are working partially, and they need to beam aboard. First, Kirk asks Spock if he knows the ship's shield frequency. He says that he's been trying to use that, but it's not working. The shields must have been changed to try to combat Nero's weapon. Unlike the writers, I think like a Star Trek fan. So Scotty has to time them beaming from the ship through the shields that are not working right while at warp. They get aboard, they get caught by the ship's intruder system, and not because they opened up a water valve. Kirk then tells everyone what happened. Scotty sees they attempted to delete recordings of the brig and escape pod area. The Commodore and his friends are thrown into the brig. By this time, Spock has returned to the bridge. That problem between Spock and Kirk comes back into play. Both are now arguing on what they should do. I'm going to tweak this a little bit. I don't want to completely ignore the fact that he lost his mother. Spock has a half-human side. It must be acknowledged. Take what old Spock told Kirk. Instead of going into a fight, Kirk finally talks to Spock as a colleague rather than an adversary. Both of them eventually recognize each other's merits and skills. They come to a compromise on how they should act on the situation. The rest of the movie plays out as is. This movie had so much potential. They broke away from continuity to give them a chance to do something original. The casting was good. I wanted to see lots of movies with them. Bits and pieces of the movie does work. Simon Pegg, I would have toned him down more. Scotty doesn't go that far. That would be my only change to the cast. The aesthetics, I would make them more closer to TOS. TOS just needs detail added to it. The designs are fine. I was very disappointed in the movie. I wanted to like it, but I couldn't. It's why I decided to not watch Into Darkness until reviews came out. And when I saw the whole Khan nonsense, I didn't want to watch it until a friend of mine got the movie. 2009 was the first and last time I bought anything from the relaunched Star Trek. I saw the pilot episode of Discovery and then passed on it, opting to just watch reviews on it in Picard, and I'm glad I never bothered with the series again. I don't like saying a series or a movie sucks, and I always like to see writers improve. Like, okay, I see how I screwed up. I'll do better. I try to be like that. There are reviews I made that are total garbage. The Earth's Final Conflict one, the Reboot one, the Sonic 1993 one. I was rushing. I didn't list both positive and negatives. They're crap. But I still keep them up to remind me to do better and not be like these writers.